On the list of things that I see amateur golfers struggle with that pros don't struggle with, it's how they start their swing. Recreational amateurs start their swing in a very handsy, arm-driven, or we could call that limb-dominant motion, underutilizing their core, both in the backswing and the forward swing. And when they do that, just like this, they leave massive amounts of power on the table. It's an 8-iron that's gone maybe 100, 105 yards versus the 160 it typically goes. And it causes some challenge in contact, despite the fact that I struck that one solid. I'm going to help you learn to pivot like a pro by using 2 alignment rods. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Now let's go. Okay, as promised, we're going to take 2 alignment rods and help you learn to pivot like a pro. Here's the drill setup. You're going to take your stance with, we'll call it a mid-iron. I'm using an 8-iron. I'm impartial to the iron. Could be a 7, could be a 6, could be a 5 if you want. Something through the middle of the bag. Take your regular setup. We're going to take one of these alignment rods and we're going to sit it on the outside of our trail heel. So that's not more than a centimeter away from the outside of my foot. And it's in line, as you can see down target line camera, with the outside of my ankle, and maybe even half an inch behind my ankle. The reason this is important to have further back behind us rather than further forward is at some point in the backswing, if you have it too far forward, it's going to impact your ability to get your hand path really deep, which is going to happen as a result of using much more of a core-driven golf swing. So I would push it down in the ground, hopefully get it down to about belt height. I'm going to leave this just a little bit above belt height. So therefore, when I get in my posture, actually, it's quite a decent amount below belt height because it's far enough back. That's a good thing. So that's position 1. That's what we do with stick number 1. Now, stick number 2, I would advise to try and find a brand new alignment rod for this, because these things are notorious for having fiberglass splinters in them. And when they get in your skin, they're impossible to locate. And what we're going to do with this one is we're going to weave it through our shirt sleeves like so and have it half out the left and half out the right. Now, this stick right here is going to give us feedback or incentivize using the middle of our body more correctly. Most recreational AMs that make a limb-dominant backswing underutilize their pelvis. What they'll do is they'll create a lot of sideways action. We can call this sway and this slide. So in the backswing, one of the reasons why a person falls into the trap of making a limb-dominant backswing is because they shift their pelvis too far to the trail side. We're trying to avoid doing that. In fact, this fist of space that we start with between the outside of your right hip and that alignment rod shouldn't ever diminish, meaning it shouldn't grow smaller. If anything, I want it to grow larger. And the reason it grows larger is not because you're moving your pelvis towards the target, it's only because the dimension front to back versus side to side of your hips, it's greater side to side than it is front to back. So as we turn to face this camera, I'm drawing the trail hip backwards, but the center of my pelvis is still staying relatively centered, which is why a greater space opens up between the trail hip and this alignment rod. So, first step, let's expand our hip rotation, killing an abundance of slide. If you need an extra incentive or a feeling to do this, then we can take our club just like so, and I want you to feel that club fall behind you. It's actually falling into the alignment rod right now versus that club ever sliding to the right. Okay, so the stick's good. If we need a, let's say, a greater level or a stronger medicine, then we can rest the club that we're using on our trail hip. Don't push it to the right or away from the target, rather rotate it into that alignment rod. So that's going to help you increase your pelvis rotation in the backswing. The bigger we rotate, the more power we can potentially generate in the forward swing because the swing length becomes greater. So that's step 1. Well, what's this guy for? This guy's up there to provide feedback to, again, the range of rotation to our rib cage, but just as much the extension or flexion to our spine. Recreational AMs, when they sway to the right or sway away from the target, tend to get the lead shoulder traveling down at a greater or steeper angle to the ground than we'd like, and the rib cage rotation is very shallow. You can see how limited this is. There would be 90 degrees, so I'm less than 90 degrees. In addition to that, if I keep on moving I'm in an abundance of spine extension, which is a lean of my upper body towards the target. That's problematic, not only for the quality of strike, the quality of power, it's problematic for your health. And it's one of those things you absolutely must avoid. So what we want is we want to feel like the tip of this stick is not only following our pelvis rotation, moving beyond the ball, but it's also getting over the inside of our trail knee, such that you feel like you're flexed away from the target some amount. And again, whilst it's nice to have this stick in here to provide us feedback to that, there's that next level of medicine if we need it, and how we would then provide you feedback to the absence of extension is this drill called necktie, where we're going to take the club that we're holding in our hands again, we're going to hold it gently against our sternum, and what we're going to do is we're going to make that pelvis rotation, and we're going to make that rib cage or upper body rotation, and we're going to make sure that that club is resting or hanging like a necktie. Let me move my left hand out of the way so you can see it, hanging over the inside of my right foot or trail foot. Therefore, the stick is over, or the middle of my sternum is over the inside of my trail knee. That ensures we're not laying the necktie against our belly and creating that spine extension that's problematic for really good golf. So that's a long word salad, podcast-ish way to talk through the drill setup and then why doing the drill with a level of precision is super important. But let's get into the hitting here. So what I would do is I'd set up, I'd have the pelvis piece, the rib cage piece, I'd rehearse it once, and then I would strike. So rather than that first 8-iron, as my stick is tied up into my mic, that first 8-iron, limb dominant 8-iron, went 105 yards in the air. That one went some 160. Now from a down target light and camera standpoint here, what you would notice is when I make a limb dominant swing, the club really never gets set behind me very far, right? I'm very shallow with my hand path. My hand path is sitting vertically over the front of my laces. But yet when I make body dominant swing, the opposite of limb dominant, so now body dominant swing, there's my pelvis, there's my rib cage. Now I've got that hand path directly over the top of the stick, so I've got more depth to my swing as a function of more rotation in my swing. And in doing this, you are going to absolutely start crushing it. Here we go. Rehearse. There it is. Both components, pelvis turn, chest turn, and also chest flex away from the target and hammer it. Ooh, very nice there. And drawing back to target beautifully. Okay, so stick off right side of, or stick off trail side foot. Stick through shirt sleeve, rotate pelvis, expanding that gap if anything, rotate rib cage, getting the stick beyond the golf ball that you're hitting visually, so peripherally you're looking over the stick and you see it's well behind or to the trail side of that golf ball. Flex your chest away so your necktie would hang over the inside of your trail knee, and you're going to start to pound it and start playing better golf. All the best.